Okay. Hello, everyone. Ryan here. And no, this is not Ryan Johnson who did episode 8. Um, Formerly known as Orion Star, this is my new YouTube channel in an attempt to keep things a little tidier on creating videos. On my channel, I play two MMOs, Elder Scrolls Online and Star Trek. And, well, maybe I'll get back to other things too, but right now I'd like to talk to you about with all this talk of um, the direction of Star Wars. Now, I just saw this video sent to me by a friend. What is this? All right, somebody's okay. Uh, they have no idea that this is just basically a alt account that I have. But basically, I would like to talk to you about my thoughts about this so-called statement of JJ saying he didn't have to fix anything from Ryan Johnson when Ryan Johnson made episode 8 the way he wanted to make episode 8, and the statement and that statement entirely. I find that to be very, very false because, as we know from Disney, with leaks of all sorts of nature, they are basically course correcting, and it does feel that way. It feels like it's course correcting and testing the waters to see, oh, what are the fans going to be thinking about this and that. Now, I think that JJ is saying he didn't have to fix anything as a way of smoothing things over with Ryan and not upsetting Ryan. So I find that as a cookie cutter, sterile statement to just kind of like smooth things over, kind of like PR spin. But I don't, and I honestly don't think that if you actually went to the man's face and talked to him directly, would he give you a different answer? Because we are essentially nobodies to these people in Hollywood. We give them our money for products, and they think we will just lap up anything they give us, like swill or pig food. So like when you're feeding livestock um in farms. So, oh, this is interesting. So sorry, I'm just a little distracted on the game. It's 3 in the morning right now. So with that going on, nobody's interested in the merchandise. Why is nobody interested in the merchandise? Because we have characters that we have no intellectual interest in, emotional investment in, or attachment, and we just don't care. Now, when it came to another video that I saw sent to me by a friend about um, things that JJ did in episode 7, there's some things that he keeps doing, and no matter what movie he makes of genre, where he keeps putting his stamps in there. And to be honest, he kind of does need to stop that with the lens flares. The one nice thing that he did do that I actually do like this is that he made that pink R2D2 for that what was her name? Uh yeah, that girl that had cancer. Uh KT. Yeah, KD. Yeah, it was in honor of her. But fun fact, if you've ever seen the movie, the 1980s George Lucas cartoon Droids with C3PO and R2D2, it's kind of episodic to where they go from master to master, place to place. There is this one episode, I don't know if it was called The White Witch or The Great Groot. It's where R2D2 gets captured by this giant droid, and basically the plot is that he's keeping them well taken care of so he can basically feed on their power cells. And there's this droid like Hilton kind of place where like you've got this giant pool of like droid oil and stuff, and C3PO meets a droid that looks exactly like this KT droid that JJ had built for I don't know if it was his daughter. Might have been his daughter. Might have been a family member. This poor um, Katie girl that died from cancer. But that's where I think he got the that's where I think he got the design for um, the paint job for the R2D2 unit in question. Now, also as for the thing with this statement of Ryan saying subverting expectations, um, I looked that up, and however the way he means for those words to sound, it makes no logical sense whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I will go on Google and I will look it up right now. Okay, so let's go to Google. Got the volume as big as I can get it. Subverting expectations.
According to the Writersaurus. According to the Oxford Dictionary, subversion is the act of undermining something, usually an established system or institution. Normally, the term is applied to politics, as in subverting the government.
Okay, so that exactly doesn't exactly make a lot of sense, otherwise known, because if this is supposed to be taken literally under this definition, then it means that Ryan Johnson intentionally tried to just wreck Star Wars. As a matter of fact, I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to repeat this right here. Subverting expectations.
According to the Writersaurus. According to the Oxford Dictionary, subversion is the act of undermining something, usually an established system or institution. Normally, the term is applied to politics, as in subverting the government.
Okay, yeah, you can total. If he kept going and saying subverting expectations, it means, yeah, basically, I don't care about I don't care about how the established property of Star Wars is. Now, if this is to be taken at this kind of value, it totally means that fans absolutely have a right to get how should we say it, displeased. Let's be polite about it and say displeased about what the way Star Wars is going. Now, as for JJ saying, I don't feel like there's a need to repair anything. As I said before, that's just completely false. That is just completely false. Also, a main reason why I decided to make a video about my thoughts is because coming down and just posting something randomly in the comments section doesn't really do any good. It just goes into the deck and gets faded away. So I thought video form would be much more clear, succinct, um, and more noticeable. As for the parks, wait, what just happened? Sorry, halfway paying attention to the oh, halfway paying attention to the game as there's activities going on, and halfway paying attention to the conversation. So my apologies. So these are my thoughts on where it comes to um, these two directors. Now, originally, I thought that if you stuck a director into an established franchise, that you would have consistency and respect with the property. My opinion on that has changed to where now, given the given what has happened, how when you're going to like well, let's say Indiana Jones, for example, when you're going to make up like 6 new Indiana Jones movies, you need to have somebody that actually knows the lore of the established property, understands the fan base, respects the fan base, does not insult the fan base, and well, just be able to know what they're doing and knowing the lore to where you're not completely trashing everything. Now, with Bob Iger's Star Wars chapter in his so-called biography, and it is said that he had to go and explain to Lucas what how hard it is to make a Star Wars film. It's like one, you're talking down to the man that created the property in the first place. Two, if it's too hard for you to work with this stuff, you shouldn't have done anything. You shouldn't have tried to manipulate George Lucas just because you tried to call in a favor just because he wanted a second season on Indiana Jones. Now, my personal opinion on that is that poor Mr. Lucas should have not sold. And if we ended up not getting any more Star Wars because of that, I find that to be perfectly acceptable. These are his creations. He does have the right to do what he wants with them, including selling them. But I do not want to see him being taken advantage of. Also, he has the right to have control because even though he's selling the property, I mean, I can understand from the business side of it that okay, you're not going to if you're going to sell something, you're not going to have control of it. But yet, when you give it to these people that obviously don't know what they're doing, they and you have to actually call him in the last movie, and there's so many rewrites and reshoots and stuff. You're obviously doing something wrong. Now, with these reshoots that are going on where people are panicking, I think, now, again, my opinion, all this is my opinion. I think what's going on here is that they are fighting over over how the movie's going to be laid out, and there's a lot of disagreements. It's not that they don't know what they're doing; it's that it's not fitting well with George Lucas's standards. Now, when you're talking about established properties, here's how I think the timeline with Star Wars went. Now, you had the prequels, and they are the way they are. So you had you from timeline creation, you had the prequels, then you had the Clone Wars. Okay, so there's there's that. Now, Rebels came after Clone Wars, so in the timeline, these two things are before or in the middle of the first. Okay, they're ahead of the first three movies, and they're behind the second three movies of Star Wars. Now, that's fine. Now, after that, when you have the cartoon droids and the Ewoks, I think those came out after they just came out after the three original trilogy movies, because you don't see any other iconic characters besides C3PO and R2D2. And I'm kind of like wondering, why is it set up like this? I've always wondered about this. And given how much there's dislike on the movies, you can go back to the earlier works and watch it or read the books. Me personally, I don't have access to the books, but I am enjoying watching stuff when it was done by George Lucas. So I'm just saying, just because the franchise is going in a way we don't agree with, because it's obviously being mismanaged, that does not mean you have to give up on Star Wars. You don't have to stop being a Star Wars fan. You can still love Star Wars. And if they want to go and try to make this high budget Hollywood fan fiction and we don't agree with it, well, we can disagree with it and make up our own storylines based on EU or personal storylines that we come up with ourselves. Because here's a problem: Lucas feels betrayed. Mark Hamill feels betrayed, and they probably both feel disrespected. I think the only one that's happy with this is Harrison Ford, because he's done with Star Wars. But I really don't like the way he went out. But he probably didn't care, because it's like thinking, and I don't know why Harrison Ford feels this way, to where maybe he doesn't want to do any more personal appearances and conventions, but he's happy not being related to Star Wars. However, he's still related to the character of Indiana Jones, and there's 4 movies with that. So with that being in mind, he's not completely cut off from doing a role. So I don't I don't know. Whatever grievances Harrison Ford has on that, I wish they would be made clear, because I think we'd all like to know what's going on with that. So basically, in conclusion, these are my thoughts when it comes to that statement of JJ. I feel it's just a cookie cutter stamp piece, and that's just how it is. We're not going to get any truth about it. But also, I'm curious of, like, when it came to Kathleen Kennedy with her disrespect of people. Now, Star Wars was basically for everybody. It was the wonder and magic of this basically modern fairy tale mixed in with science fiction, and it was wonderful. But when you have somebody going and dis writing all these slam and insult pieces on the fans, well, of course, this is she might have been handpicked by Lucas, but I think Lucas didn't really know what he was getting into, and she was really good at hiding her true nature or true intentions. And if this gets out on the internet and gets used against me because I'm saying this stuff, I don't care. I don't care. I'm never going to be in business with these people. I have the right to speak my own mind. And I wish there was a way to go back and warn George that we didn't about what's going on with his property, because you've seen the parodies to where you have people acting like they're the Hollywood guys, and you have somebody acting like George Lucas, and he's like, "I got an idea for this," and it's like, "No, George, we don't want you," because there are videos of that. I don't know channels. But these are videos that I have seen over the past few months. And as for Disney's Galaxy Edge, well, if it was actually designed better, and I do mean it, designed better, what should have happened is it should have been opened up when it was completed and not corners being cut. Because I actually was there, and I do want to go there again, but that's because I had an incomplete experience. Not just with um not just with, oh, they didn't have stuff completely there and I want to go and see that. It's that my first experience was kind of like um disorientation and confusion, to where, okay, I'm in a new place. I don't recognize anything related really to Star Wars, and I'm just completely disoriented and confused. And that's basically the feeling I had when it came to being in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And I was only able to go there once. So that's how I feel about it now. Maybe my feelings will change about it, but it was like when I was there at Disneyland, I was like, okay, where am I at now? And I still have that feeling, you know? So these are just my thoughts. I hope it's not too much of a rambling going on, and my thoughts are clear and concise. I just wanted to be able to get um, I just wanted to be able to get that out there. So these are my thoughts on everything. Also, there is the opinion of possibly the actors being disconnected from their roles because of not having a movie made for so long. There is that opinion that's out there. That's I disagree with that opinion, because that's that's saying that Carrie Fisher's disconnected and Mark is and Harrison, and it's like, no, it's not. That's not the way it is, because these people are the actors that originally brought life to the characters. If anything, it's like Bruce Wayne is Batman. You don't you don't have anybody else be Batman but Bruce Wayne. And if you have somebody else be Batman, it's going to be Terry McGinnis, and he's going to have his own style to it. But that's with Batman's consent and approval. Now, George may have given his consent for these new movies, but I really don't think there's his approval anymore. And just because he's involved with Chapter 9 of Star Wars now, I really do think that they've written themselves into a really bad corner, and they are pulling his scripts out of the trash. And I do think that his original script outlines for the first three movies were bought just so Lucas couldn't sell them to another company. They only it's like in business. I'm going to buy your resources, not use them, just to make sure no one else can use them. So these are my thoughts on the matter at hand. And yes, for a while I haven't watched any Star Wars videos because there's been so much negativity and hate. I mean, I can't on the one side I can't blame people for feeling that way. But then again, on the other side, I can't take listening to the same echoes over and over and over again. If I'm going to be listening to the same opinions, I'm going to jump around YouTubers or streamers and try to find somebody that isn't so negative and angry about it. So because of that, there's been a lot of videos to where I haven't bothered watching because of this, because it's gotten completely stagnant. The only thing that's been a refresh is some interesting news with the parks and Bob Iger's new book. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna buy his book just because of that one chapter on Star Wars. And something else that I'm curious about, with Disney deleting the EU and just saying, it's like, okay, imagine being inside Galaxy's Edge, right? And then when you go, you see a wall, and then everything that George Lucas made and the EU that he supported was beyond this wall. And then you have like a Disney employee or somebody going, "Oh, no, no, no. That doesn't exist. You can't see that. Please come with me and please enjoy the parts that we want you to enjoy." That's how I feel it is. Now, with that in mind, when it comes to the original extended universe, are they gonna be book burning all the lore that was made after the original trilogy? This is something that's been on my mind. I sincerely hope not. Or maybe what they'll do is they'll buy the properties that the IPs or the companies that manufactured that and get them to stop manufacturing that. Just own the rights just to, make these books an endangered species. I'm just saying these are just my thoughts. I have nothing to support this. This is just more of a worry, you know. I would consider that modern day book burning, and then they go and they buy all the copies and they hide them somewhere in a warehouse or something, you know. These were these were my thoughts on the matter at hand. So yeah, that's basically all I had to say on the matter. I mean, you could go a lot into this, and I kind of compiled it. And this is probably 3 videos worth of talking, but I've had a lot of my mind with Star Wars, and this is my only way of really getting that up. So I hope you've enjoyed my thoughts on it, and hope to see you on my channel. So thanks everybody for watching. Hope you have a good night.